And a very warm welcome, indeed a very warm welcome given the weather outside, to the Barony Hall, one of the jewels in the university's estate. This is, as you have gathered, where we graduate our students. And over the course of this fortnight, we'll be graduating just shy of 4,000 students, the most important of whom are in the room today. The graduates that were before me, the fantastic array of talent that I have behind us, and it's something that we want you to enjoy because it's been a long time coming. The past 2.5 years have been particularly challenging, but when we get a chance to come here and celebrate, it's a way to recognise these great accomplishments. Over the course of the next 45 minutes or so, I'm sure you will applaud politely as these students come up to the stage. But you can let your hair down, because I would like you to make sure that your members, your family, or those that you're supporting know that you're in their room. So don't be overawed by this fantastic building. You're here because you're an extended part of the Strathclyde family, and we want you to behave as such. As we start, the graduands, as they are just now, they're going to be transformed into graduates very shortly. They'll come across the stage. I'm going to cap them, which is effectively a reflection of the ritual of this rite of passage as they become Strathclyde graduates. This thing before me is rather, as an engineer myself, it has a rather practical purpose. It's got a bit of social distancing. But this is the kneeler that we used to use in days before, when perhaps social expectations were somewhat different. It would be either the Vice-Chancellor or the Chancellor would be sitting down. The graduates would come and kneel before them to be capped. I've actually knelt on this 3 times for my bachelor's degree, my master's degrees, and my PhD. But so I estimate about 125,000 sets of knees have been on this. So it's a bit rickety, so do not kneel on this, colleagues. But it gives you a little bit of furniture with regard to Strathclyde's history that you can enjoy. So whilst this is always a great occasion, occasionally we get a particularly increased enhancement of the enjoyment by celebrating the fantastic professional achievements of individuals, either in their profession, in industry, or public sector, or academia. And today, I am really delighted to be celebrating the contributions of 2 world-class engineers, both of whom I've had the pleasure of working with and seeing their impact on society, on industry, on the economy, and indeed on policy. And you'll hear more a bit shortly from my Dean of Engineering, Professor Stephen MacArthur, who will introduce Dame Judith Hackett, and you'll hear from Vice Dean Campbell Booth, who'll let you know about Paul Stein, both of whom will be joining the Strathclyde family properly. So with that, colleagues, I will declare this congregation formally opened, and will now introduce the 2 honorary graduates. So we'll then also address the students, and I would recommend you listen carefully to the words of advice that they will offer with you. So please enjoy the rest of the afternoon. Thank you very much.
Principal and Vice-Chancellor, I have the honour and privilege of presenting Dame Judith Hackett. Throughout her career, Dame Judith has championed the importance of engineering in delivering solutions which provide benefit to society. At the same time, she has been a role model for women wanting to enter the profession. She has a passion for engineering and manufacturing and cares deeply about safety in the workplace and more broadly. Having had the pleasure of speaking to her about her passion for engineering, you will find that she is keen to emphasise that engineering is the best way to make a real difference in the world. She encourages everyone thinking about their future career to make a difference and become an engineer to do so. Her career has encompassed significant roles influencing and shaping the engineering profession and driving forward health and safety improvements. You will hear that she is a chemical engineer with a proven track record of achieving results in industry and in the public sector. And she has an established national and international reputation as a leader and a very strong communicator, influencer, and advocate for her profession. She led the independent review into building regulations and fire safety for the government following the tragic fire at Grenfell Tower, and is now acting as an advisor to both UK and Australian governments on building safety matters. She's a fellow and trustee of the Royal Academy of Engineering and past president of the Institution of Chemical Engineers. As a result of the impact of her activities, she was awarded a CBE in 2006 for services to health and safety. Then, in December 2015, she was appointed Dame Commander, DBE, for services to health, safety and engineering. I know from speaking to her that she is uncomfortable being singled out for her achievements, and she will quickly share that everything she has achieved was through collaboration and teamwork. This aligns with Strathclyde's values of being collaborative and people-oriented, and it takes a great collaborator and leader to deliver what Dame Judith has to our profession and society. Her engineering journey began at Imperial College, London, where she studied chemical engineering and graduated with a Bachelor of Engineering honours degree. This launched her into the first stage of her career, which was a very successful 15 years at Exxon Chemical Limited in Southampton. During this time, she progressed through various roles and leadership positions from plant supervisor to operations director. This was followed by 6 years as operations director at Harcrows Pigments Europe, where she was responsible for all manufacturing operations. As an interesting aside, she originally wanted to be a teacher and had been inspired by those that understand how science and technology is used to improve society. This was her career plan, and she advises everyone that having a career plan is a good thing, but you also need to be flexible. She was, and it enabled her impressive achievements. Her next role saw Dame Judith take on executive responsibility for all health, safety and environmental performance aspects within Elementis, with significant time being spent in the United States. She was group risk manager of this multinational company with a turnover of more than £2 billion. And as a leading international technological university, this is consistent with the University of Strathclyde's ethos of making a difference on a global stage. For the next stage of her career, Dame Judith became a champion of the chemical industry. In 1998, she became Director of Business Environment for the Chemical Industries Association. She was responsible for directing all of the association's work in the areas of regulatory policy, trade, competitiveness, economics and business, and she became the Director General of this in 2002. Following a period as the Implementation Director in Chemistry for the European Chemical Industries Council, she took up the role of Chair of the Health and Safety Executive. This made her responsible for all of Great Britain's policy on workplace health and safety regulation. This included a significant public and media profile, speaking on a variety of technical, science and engineering issues and debates about risk and regulation. She was also a regular speaker and high-profile participant in worldwide meetings on regulation. Dame Judith's influence on health and safety and the protection of you and I from harm was further cemented in 2017 when she conducted an independent review for the UK government into building regulations and fire safety, and this was in the wake of the Grenfell Tower disaster. Since publishing her final report in 2018, she has continued to press for regulatory change and for industry culture change, and her recommendations for radical reform of the regulatory system recently received royal assent in the Building Safety Act 2022. She remains an advisor to the Westminster Government on implementation of new building regulatory systems, and she is also an advisor to the Victoria Government in Australia on building safety regulation. This completely aligns with the University of Strathclyde's people-oriented and socially progressive values. She continues to lead significant engineering and health and safety organisations. As a board member of HS2 Limited, she is supporting the ambitions of the UK in terms of future travel and economic prosperity. She is also a non-executive director of the High Value Manufacturing Catapult. This was established by Innovate UK to bridge the gap between business and academia, to ensure that access to world-class research and development facilities and expertise are available to all businesses in the UK. The University of Strathclyde is a major university partner in this, and we host the National Manufacturing Institute for Scotland and lead the Advanced Forming Research Centre and Lightweight Manufacturing Centre. Our partnership in this will drive forward manufacturing success and value for the UK. In conclusion, Dame Judith is a highly accomplished engineer in her field and also a highly successful leader and role model in the wider engineering societies and academies. She is internationally renowned and embodies our values at the University of Strathclyde. She has been ambitious for her discipline, her teams, and those she has mentored. She is people-oriented and bold in that she will confidently advise and advocate for the right thing to do. She is collaborative, working with her teams and others to deliver the very best results in engineering, manufacturing, and health and safety. Her desire to deliver real impact means she fits in perfectly with our university ambitions and objectives. Principal and Vice-Chancellor, in recognition of her exceptional contributions to engineering, manufacturing, and health and safety, it gives me very great pleasure to present to you Dame Judith Hackett for the degree of Doctor of Science, honoris causa.
Judith, I create you Doctor of Science honoris causa. We are delighted to recognise your outstanding professional contributions, and we're very proud to have you now a member of the Strathclyde family. Well done and welcome to the university.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Dame Judith. Please.
Goodness me, that was a long story. But I have to say, it is an absolute honour and a privilege to receive this honorary doctorate award today and to have the opportunity to be present on this day of celebration for all of you. My journey into engineering began almost 50 years ago. At the time, lots of people advised me against it and told me that girls just didn't do engineering. But I was pretty determined, even then, at the age of 17, and I had a plan, as you've heard. I wanted to study chemical engineering, spend a short time in industry to learn about the practical application of science and maths, and then pursue my real goal of being a science teacher. As you've heard from my citation, my career has taken a very different path from the original plan. And that's because I've always been open to new opportunities, and perhaps even more importantly, because I have chosen to do things that I really care about and where I believe I can make a difference. Having a plan is good, but being open to those new and exciting opportunities is even more important. I have to say to all of you graduating today that I feel somewhat envious of all of you who are graduating, because you are starting out on your careers. And there has never been a more exciting or a more challenging time to be an engineer. Our planet, our climate, our infrastructure needs all of you to put your hearts and souls into finding real solutions which will deliver benefit to all of society. I have no doubt that some of your parents and friends in the audience today are still a bit puzzled about why it is that you chose engineering and what is it exactly that engineers do anyway. Well, mums and dads and friends, these young engineers will, in their careers, save more lives than doctors. They will deliver more benefit to society than any other profession. We're not just keen on physics and maths and what return we can get on our investments. We care about the world and about making things better. We work together in multidisciplinary collaborative teams to deliver sustainable transport, housing, food, communications, and so much more. Our much missed founding patron of the Royal Academy of Engineering, Prince Philip, Duke of Edinburgh, once said in a Radio 4 broadcast that everything around us which God didn't make is down to engineers and engineering. I am proud to be an engineer. I never dreamed of what I would be able to achieve when I set out on this journey 50 years ago. But I urge you all to start out with a plan and dream big. And parents and friends, I ask you all to be proud that you know someone who is going to change this world for the better. Thank you.
Principal and Vice-Chancellor, I have the honour to present to you Paul Stein. Paul has played a leading role in the advancement of key technologies that are contributing to a more connected and cleaner world. His contributions to leading technology companies, such as the world-renowned Rolls-Royce and Philips, have seen him rise in seniority and drive important advances that shape our world today and have set its course towards a net zero carbon future. Paul is the chairman of the Rolls-Royce Small Modular Nuclear Reactor Consortium, a business founded to bring affordable net zero energy to the grid by the end of the decade. Until April of this year, he was the Chief Technology Officer of Rolls-Royce plc, responsible for the balance of technology and investment and technical direction of this world-leading company, which is famed for its products for aircraft propulsion and in many power and energy domains. Indeed, his term as CTO has seen significant developments in Rolls-Royce technologies, not least highlighted by the formation of Rolls-Royce Electrical as a distinct business unit at the turn of last year. This reflects the central role that electrical power technologies will have in the realisation of decarbonised flight. These contributions had their foundation in a degree in electrical and electronic engineering. After graduating from King's College London with a degree in electrical and electronic engineering in 1978, Paul's career started with Philips in the communications industry. His first contributions were in developing equipment and protocols for very early generation cellular mobile phone systems, before then moving to the defence sector to develop similar technology for the armed forces. In 1993, Paul joined Roke Manor Research, then a division of Siemens, to head up the radio communications division. He subsequently became managing director in 1996. He also joined the UK Siemens Executive Management Board, leading technology and business strategy. In 2006, Paul left the private sector to join the civil service, becoming the Director General for Science and Technology at the Ministry of Defence. Then in 2010, he joined Rolls-Royce as its Chief Scientific Officer. It was no surprise, given Paul's passion and drive for digital and electrical technologies, that he subsequently became Chief Technology Officer for the company in 2017. This is a great achievement within a company such as Rolls-Royce, which is at the very leading edge of developments such as electrical power and propulsion systems and the digitisation of manufacturing. Paul's connection with Strathclyde dates from his time in Philips in the 1980s, when Strathclyde's leading position in digital signal processing made it an ideal partner for a complex voice coding application. Then at Rolls-Royce, Paul's links with Strathclyde grew more and expanded significantly. A particular highlight has been connecting with the Rolls-Royce University Technology Centre in electrical power systems, established by yourself, Principal, and currently led by Professor Graham Burt, and within which I myself worked as a postdoctoral research fellow more than a few years ago. The UTC has conducted world-class research in the decarbonisation of power and propulsion systems, aligned with the technology strategy shaped under Paul's leadership. This is also reflected in other links with Strathclyde, including the Advanced Forming Research Centre, the National Manufacturing Institute for Scotland. Paul's national standing has been rightly recognised by the engineering profession. He is a Fellow of the Royal Academy of Engineering, the Royal Aeronautical Society, and the Institution of Engineering and Technology. He also serves on the Prime Minister's Council for Science and Technology. And just earlier this month, Paul's contribution to British enterprise was further recognised by the award of a CBE in the 2022 Queen's Birthday Honours. Principal, outside of work, Paul tells me that he is a bit of a geek. He's programmed a Raspberry Pi to make his home smart, and he's also a keen motorcyclist. Therefore, it is with great pleasure, Principal and Vice-Chancellor, that with the authority of Senate, I ask you to confer upon Paul Stein the degree of Doctor of Science honoris causa.
Paul, it's an enormous pleasure for me to create you Doctor of Science honoris causa. Your professional contributions have been absolutely outstanding, and it's our great pleasure to welcome you in a different capacity to join the Strathclyde family. Many congratulations. Ladies and gentlemen, Paul Stein.
What a great citation. And what a great day. And as a lifelong engineer and technologist, as you've heard from Campbell, receiving this honour has been a fantastic privilege for me. The University of Strathclyde is, of course, famous for being the first technological university in the UK. And it received its Royal Charter, I saw on the Wikipedia, in 1964. And I was 7 years old, and I did a bit of reverse engineering, and it was the year I was given my first electronics construction toy, and became fascinated by technology. So I'm still trying to work out whether that was some coincidence in life. I like to think so. But now, 58 years later, I've finally figured out which of the 3 transistor pins do what. And here we all are in this great place, and we've all got one thing in common, and that's that we're getting degrees from this iconic university, and all of us will remember this day. Perhaps my journey through life has been a little bit longer than many of you, and I'd like to share what worked with me, some personal comments in guiding my career, just in case it helps you think about what lies ahead for you. I've just thought of a few simple things. And the first is to say that while I know there are many disciplines graduating today, at least I thought there was, I think you're all electrical engineers, well done. The first is mainly for the technologists, and that is to stay curious about all technology, not just your chosen field. The solution to your future challenges may come about in fields that are way outside your speciality. Aspire to be a systems engineer, able to bring together technological disciplines to solve complex problems, like the net zero challenge that Dame Judith referred to earlier. And for some of you, keep your finger on the pulse of what technology can and can't do. You've heard from Campbell that I'm a bit of a geek and program my own house to turn the heating on and off with Raspberry Pis, but whatever works for you, welding your own car, making and designing your own clothes, upgrading your PC, it'll ground you in the real world of the limits of technology. Bring out the geek in yourselves, please, and stay curious about all technologies, and you'll be known as the person that sees the pathways that others don't. My second piece of advice won't apply to everyone, but move jobs about every 5 to 10 years, and you'll be all the better for bringing together the wisdom from many cultures and different ways of doing things. The most common problem I see amongst the people I mentor is career stagnation, caused by loyalty to an organization rather than their careers. And that's not to say somebody won't stay in companies for a long time and be very fulfilled. It's just what worked for me. And my third piece of advice is never let anyone persuade you to take a job you're reluctant to do just because it's a good career step or just because it's got more money. Because if you're not moving on to something that's better for you at every step, that makes you get up in the morning with enthusiasm for what you're doing, then you won't be at your best and your careers will be damaged. I once turned down a very big career step in Philips, where they offered me a very boring but very senior job and was told my career would be over. Well, Philips has now shrunk to making Philips shaves and medical equipment, and I'm still going, so. Perhaps now, pedalling forwards a few years for many of you, please give something back to the society that has made you what you are. And in this regard, your own principal, Sir Jim, has been a role model for many. He's president of the Royal Academy of Engineering, and every time I meet him, he adds another directorship or chairmanship to the list of things. So for many of you, this is about giving talks to new graduates, about how your careers have progressed, right the way through to being perhaps president of a great institution. You'll find that influencing the future and inspiring the next generation is actually great fun, and you'll be hugely respected for it. We're all graduating today from a superb university, Rolls-Royce has got two big connections with Strathclyde, which has already been mentioned, electrical power systems, and in many aspects of advanced manufacturing, and this may grow to more. You should also be very pleased that in addition to the Rolls-Royce connection, there's actually 20 other industry-facing centres here in Strathclyde, 3 catapults, 3 national labs, the UK's only Fraunhofer Institute, and 3 Scottish innovation centres. Wow, what a list to be proud of. And we should all be proud that we're getting our degrees from this great university. And if I had my way, these statistics mean far more about a great educational and research institute than any other measure. To my loss, I didn't study my undergraduate degree at Strathclyde, but during my career, I've worked with many Strathclyde graduates. There's a magic here that combines heritage, practicality, academic robustness, and links to industry that means your qualifications have put you on the starting blocks in the finals of the Career Olympics, and the rest is down to you. So on that high note, I'll once again wish you all well in your careers, whatever your chosen path, and whether you take my advice or not, or buy Philly shaves or not. I'll thank all of the university's officials for making me an honorary doctor, in which I take immense pride, and thank you.
Principal and Vice-Chancellor, in the name of the University and by the authority of Senate, I present to you these students. For the degree of Doctor of Philosophy, for research in the Department of Electronic and Electrical Engineering, Ahmed Abdelkader Almadi Alzin. Amlan Basu. Callum Edmonds. Amayikai Ajiboka Ishaku. Mohammed Asif Uddin Khan. Jonas Kusch. Edgar George Duncan Lucas MacLeod. Callum McKinnon. Natasha Mary Jane Padfield. Carla Anna Findlay Patterson. Vasilius Saras. Alicia Kamalidinov. Sorry. No, I'm all right. Sorry about that. Rosemary Ton. Guo Liang Shi. Alicia Kamalidinov. Yaya Altala. Siddhant Nilesh Kumar Joshi. Victor Manuel Gonzalez Arango. Ping Lu. Ewan McRobert. Leela Krishna Sai Raghavan Utpala. In wind energy systems, Ronald Vladimir Detmer Argoti. For the degree of Master of Engineering in Computer and Electronic Systems, Fraser Bell. Ross Broomfield. Alexander Robert Galloway. Benjamin Joseph Garside. Amanda Anna Helstenius. Sean Kieran King. Stuart John Lang. Blair Mackenzie. Madeline Rachel Pamela Owen. Carol Thomas Rivet. In electrical and mechanical engineering, Lisa Burns. Liam Carlisle. Finlay Christie. Andrew Conlon. Hannah Crawford. Jonathan Davis. John David Dutcheman. Lana Nicole Duncan. Connie Edgar. Anthony Fong. Liam Gillis Gordon. Isabel Green. Sophie Anna Gribben. Louisa Anna Haldane. Andrew David Halfpenny. Taha Jihani. Kelly Louise Johnston. Ricardo Cameron Kemp Garcia. Mark Kent. Hamish Patrick Loning. Bruce Lonan. Holly Francesca Burnett McIntosh. Fergus James Patrick McKenna. Fraser Mossman. Darren Osamuyi Ohanmu Edison. Andrew Peebles. Sehar Raza. Richard Dariush Sarkosh. Scott John Williams. Craig Alexander Duncan Yates. In electronic and electrical engineering, James Christian Anderson. Rachel Begbie. Dylan Anthony Brennan. Alexander Gordon Broadhurst. Samuel Brown. Max Cassells. Lana Hall McLaughlin Crow. Fraser Murray Dixon. Gregor Dodd. Connor Dorward. James Andrew Ferguson. Ronan Gagan. Adrian Hijazo. Matthew Kennedy. Hogan Kerr. Ilya Konchar. Olivia Kiriakou. Huriya Orika Muzamil Malik. Samuel Martinelli. Ross Patrick McBain. Stuart McLarnon. Mark McManus. Cyprian Camille Nagoda. Michael O'Brien. Maxim Todorov-Panchev. Quentin Pletinks. Simonas Stasitis. Rhys Alexander Stobo. Finlay Cameron Strachan. Neil Strang. David Charteris Sutherland. Kira Jasmine Todd. James Watt. In Electronic and Electrical Engineering with Business Studies, Alvaro Alonso Gordalisa. Keith Johnston. Callum Ferguson Pender. For the degree of Bachelor of Engineering in Computer and Electronic Systems, Scott John Smith McLachlan. Alex Peveril. Rohit Acharya. Mutadi Akram Mohsin Ali. Saira Ali. Jack Edward Cherry. Flora Chung. In Electrical and Mechanical Engineering, Callum David Monroe. Emma Louise Tate. Ewan Ray. Omar El Medani. Stephen McQueen Galloway. Callum Wong. In Electronic and Electrical Engineering, Bradley Lang. Amy Sarah Wheeler. Struan Michael Brown. Ziyuan Fan. Ryan Joseph Kane. Andrew King. Scott James Kirk. Murray Mackenzie. Yanjie Ming. Alistair Murray Robertson. Andrew Steer. Alice Ann Stewart. Mark Tate. Callum James Weatherston. Jen Kai Shang. Tian Chen Yao. Ting Yu Zhang. Let me check. Okay. Jun Lu. Murray Fraser MacDonald. Christian Nsiala Mankodila. William Mann. Blair David Scott. Alan Stevenson. Entong Wong. Lin Zhang. Emmanuel Alexakis. Daniel Michael Smith. Ryan Kieran Moran Brown. For the degree of Bachelor of Engineering in Electronic and Electrical Engineering, Yulai He.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, let's give the class of 2022 a big round of applause. So, once again, ladies and gentlemen, Strathclyde graduates, as you all are now, let me reiterate our warm welcome here to this wonderful ceremony. A day that none of you will forget, and nor should you. It marks the successful conclusion of years of hard work, and now you've graduated here today in front of your proud families, friends, supporters, and the university community. Today we've welcomed visitors from all over Scotland, from across the UK, and from a wonderful international community. We are delighted to have you all here to join in our celebrations. Because Strathclyde is an institution where freedom of thought is valued and encouraged, and we're a place that is both tolerant and inclusive, and where people of diverse national, cultural and social backgrounds come here to enjoy good education and a shared student experience. And at Strathclyde, we all benefit from having students and staff from almost 130 different countries. Ours is a socially progressive community, one that seeks to be an exemplar for modern society, because we're plural, we're multicultural, and we seek to be enlightened. It's our responsibility. Graduates, it's your responsibility to continue to challenge unacceptable practices, including by those in power, perhaps particularly by those in power, and we've had plenty to challenge in the recent years, by using reason and by exemplifying the best features of modern society. And as we enjoy our time together here today, the horrors of war back in Europe and the eastern part of this continent fills me with dread to see the inhumanity, the illegality, and the approach that has been taken in Ukraine. And we must give them our best support, which is why we fly the flag of Ukraine around various parts of this campus. But of course, most importantly, graduates, we're here to acknowledge your hard work, the learning you've built up, and the successful completion of your degree course, because this is now your passport to making a full contribution to your career and to society, regardless of what path you choose to take, in spite of the flux that we're all currently facing. And as I mentioned earlier, this is the first full programme of graduations that we've been able to enjoy for over 2 years. It's been a long time coming, and all of you have worked hard and shown resolve as you've worked your way through to today. And the pandemic, of course, has challenged our health systems. It's impacted our economies, and it has changed the way in which we work. In some ways, in years to come, we may look over our shoulder and see that COVID-19, although unwelcome, may have well accelerated the digitalisation of our economy and also net zero as we think through new ways of working. But the pandemic has also demonstrated what society can achieve by working together through deep collaboration, and it's placed science and engineering at the forefront of finding the solutions that you heard both Judith and Paul talking about, and the solutions to the thorny challenges that we face. It was science, engineering, universities and innovative industry that delivered the vaccines for COVID-19 in record time. And it'll be science, engineering and education that will help us address other challenges and the existential challenge of the 21st century, that of climate change. In November last year, we were delighted to be the host city for COP26. Although it was delayed a year for obvious reasons, the world came to Glasgow, and we were able to showcase not only that famous Glasgow welcome, but the fact that we could create an environment where people could exchange views, but also look forward to the requirement to move to action as we seek to minimise global warming and climate change. And as a university community, we are also on our journey to getting to net zero before 2040 and by 70% reductions in our carbon emissions over the next 2 years. But COP26, as well as bringing people here, helped Strathclyde play its part in delivery of that fantastic conference. And I had the privilege of meeting with John Kerry, the Special Presidential Envoy for Climate, President Biden's representative here. Alok Sharma was here a couple of times. In fact, he was here the week before COP began to launch the Conference of Youth that we hosted here in partnership with our student executive. And what an energetic event that was. Many hundreds of young people coming here, Strathclyde hosting it, and giving a view, setting an agenda for my generation to deal with the challenges that have emerged through decision-making that perhaps we didn't fully appreciate the consequences of. But Alok Sharma came here, took the challenge, and we saw that moving into COP26. I had a pleasure of meeting another fellow electrical engineer, Michael Bloomberg, here in the city. He was here to talk about the city's development. He's done wonderful things in his professional life, but also as Mayor of New York. And he saw Glasgow as a city that really had, if you let me coin his phrase, had its act together in terms of climate change. But the highlight for us as an institution, as well as supporting what was going on at COP, I spent just about every day in the blue zone of COP26, engaging and exchanging views and plans with others. But we hosted ex-President Barack Obama here on the campus. What an inspirational man he was. And it wasn't a flying visit. He was here for almost 4 hours. Coming here, hosted in our Learning and Teaching building, to engage with young people about the important role that activism has through good, solid data, science and engineering knowledge in tackling climate change. Now, because of the security requirements, we couldn't advertise that Mr. Obama was going to be here. But through the power of social media that our students only know too well, by the time he left us, there was about 500 people outside the building waiting to say goodbye to him. And as he walked down the steps of the Learning Teaching building into his car, he turned around and said 2 very simple words to those that were gathered to see him. And they were these: get active. And I say that to you, our graduates now. Get active. Get active in your careers. Make a difference through your professional endeavour. Engage with society, and you'll define better than me what that might mean for you. But don't be passive. Get active. Take that risk that you heard from Judith and Paul about stepping over that line, taking that risk, following your heart, following your passions, but doing it in a way that engenders the values of this institution. So we look forward to, in fact, as I remember, Lewis, I think we made, or rather you made President Barack Obama a lifelong member of the Student Union, which I think gets him cheap beer.
Yeah, thank you very much. You can come and join any society you like.
And he's invited to join any society here, so that's pretty good. So, back to Glasgow. I was born here in this fantastic city in a small sunny hamlet called Govan, just on the other side of the Clyde. The motto for that town is nihil sine labore, or nothing without hard work. So graduates, you're smart, you're accomplished, you're ambitious, you're energetic, but don't forget that magic element of applying yourself and making sure that you make a difference. That allows me to embrace that ethos every day as I come in here to work with my wonderful colleagues and with our students. Today you become Strathclyders, our Strathclyde alumni, and you're the latest of our torchbearers, as it were, just like the many generations of graduates that have gone before you. And with all that you've now successfully come through, I'm sure you'd agree that you could not have done that without the strong backing and support and encouragement of the community of supporters that are around you and that are in the hall with you today. It's fitting that we acknowledge, as an academic community, their part in getting you over the line today. So graduates and university staff, please join me in saying a big thank you to your families, your friends and supporters for all that they've done to make today possible. Thank you very much. And for our fantastic academic staff and our professional staff and support staff, this is a very important day because ultimately your success is their reward. They've worked hard to provide you with a first-class education and an excellent university experience for all of our students, regardless of background. So let me invite the graduates and others in the hall to say with me thank you to our academic staff for all that they've done. So as you leave the hall shortly, I want you to take some memories, of wonderful memories of today and your degree courses, of course, but know a little bit about your place. Strathclyde, Paul mentioned we were the first UK technological university to be established in 1964, which built on our proud history that dates back to 1796. So we were established then, so we're 226 years old, although I still try to lead this place with the same spirit of as a 200-year-old startup organisation, with that drive, that excitement, that focus in what we're trying to do. And throughout our history, Strathclyde has genuinely remained faithful to its founding principles. We were established, and I quote, using the language of the time, for the benefit of all mankind. And that means making a difference, making an impact, taking society forward with us. And we were the only higher education institution to be established in Scotland during the Scottish Enlightenment, and that's a real distinction for us. You know, making an impact, challenging, opening the doors wide. You know, this place was educating women at the end of the 18th century and bringing artisans in here that had very unconventional educational backgrounds. And we're now driving forward our university strategy with that same exciting spirit, seeking to make it wholly relevant to the 21st century. Our founder, John Anderson, a natural philosopher or physicist, had very strong links with Benjamin Franklin, the famous American inventor and academic. Franklin was one of the individuals that established the University of Pennsylvania in 1751 under the banner of useful knowledge. And that inspired John Anderson, as was happening also in mainland Europe, people like von Humboldt and others, Adam Smith and Hume here in Scotland. That fervour had him imagine a place of useful learning, you know, a place that would make all the difference. And that influenced us to have the motto of useful learning. That's what we took forward, known by all of our staff and students, but also defining our purpose as a leading international technological university that is socially progressive. As you came here to the hall today, you'll have passed buildings, and what was going on inside there was the work of our academics and students. They're developing drugs to diagnose and fight disease. For example, we have several drugs on clinical trials in the areas of cancer treatment, kidney disease, infection management, and inflammatory disease. Strathclyders are producing energy technologies and policy solutions to tackle climate change and to establish a low-carbon economy. We're playing our part in revolutionising global manufacturing and helping to create what's referred to as the fourth industrial revolution, or Industry 4.0. That's through robotics, AI, automation, and advanced materials. Our students are continuing their work in Africa, establishing clean water and power supplies, deploying healthcare systems in remote communities, and introducing new telecommunications infrastructure. And they're bringing prosthetic limb and bioengineering technologies to those in need across the globe. Very importantly, we seek to work to inform public policy. Our governments have to align with these challenges and set the conditions for investment and progress. And we do that on national economic strategy, on education and health, energy and innovation strategies. Our staff in the Technology and Innovation Centre, which is down in George Street, it's a £100 million investment, are looking at energy, photonics and pharmaceuticals. The American inventor Thomas Edison called his technical teams and laboratories his inventions factory. Well, TIC has become our innovations factory. And we've reinforced our leadership now, having established the Glasgow City Innovation District here in the centre of town, Scotland's first innovation district, now moving towards an additional £150 million investment in work that many of your departments are working on in medtech, fintech, quantum technology, industrial informatics or AI, 5G and 6G communications and space technology, attracting inward investment, supporting Indigenous companies. And who knew that the west of Scotland had the biggest satellite manufacturing capability outside California? We don't shout enough about it, but this university is deeply connected to the industry base that's making that difference and helping source the next spaceports that will put Scotland on the map. And many of our alumni have followed us in that journey. Just last year, Dr. Charles Wang, a double graduate from Strathclyde, approached us in an unsolicited way and gave us the biggest philanthropic donation in Scottish higher education history, the fifth highest in UK higher education history, with a £58 million donation. Now, you won't know Charles, but you, I dare say, have used his products over the past 2 years or so. He's a serial entrepreneur, he's an investor, but he also established the Nova Medical Group, and the lateral flow tests that we've all been using, much of which were built by Charles Wang's group and distributed globally, have made the difference. And Charles, I'd like to think, and he would say, because of his Strathclyde education, is now establishing a £1 billion investment through philanthropy, starting here, and ironically, his first degree was attained at Wuhan University. So he's spent £100 million of his philanthropy here in Scotland and here in China, and we're using that to drive the next investment around innovation districts out at the airport. Now that we're getting mobile again, I would encourage you to look to the east part of the runway. It's right at the edge of the runway. There's a large building there with a serrated roof. That's the National Manufacturing Institute for Scotland, and adjacent to that is the Medicines Manufacturing Innovation Centre. Around £200 million worth of investment, bringing back high-value manufacturing with companies such as Rolls-Royce, Boeing, GSK, AstraZeneca, and many others, and planning to create around 4,000 to 5,000 jobs in and around Renfrewshire over the next 5 years. And in Glasgow, the Glasgow City Innovation District, another 2,000 to 3,000. So useful learning, making a difference. And business and industry benefit from our engagement. But the most important thing we do is to educate and help transform people's lives and the lives of their families. And as I mentioned earlier, we still attract many first-generation students here to Strathclyde. And those are some of the reasons why we've had a number of independent awards, not of just what we do, but recognising how we do it. Strathclyde's still the only university that has won the Times Higher Education UK University of the Year twice. We've been the Sunday Times Scottish University of the Year, and one that I appreciated was the Higher Education Workplace of the Year, because that talked about our values, the environment that we create, the opportunities that we make for our staff and students. So I hope you get a sense of the fact that Strathclyde continues to demonstrate the ability to have disproportionate impacts, principally, and let me say this, through all of you. Our most valuable outcome is the education of these outstanding students who will go into their careers, into the world, into their communities, and make a difference. In Scotland, the Scottish Government invests about £1.2 billion per annum in Scottish higher education, and in return, the sector plays back over £10 billion of economic impact. That's a strong investment and something we must bear in mind. And clearly the achievements for those of you having done electronic and electrical engineering, done computer and electronic studies, EME, it's fantastic. And I like the courses so much that, I'm a EEE graduate from Strathclyde. Some time ago before you, I started here in 1974. As a very talented 6-year-old boy, let me tell you, there's not many folk that get into universities at that age. But my wife, Eileen, and I are also proud to have 3 Strathclyde graduates as our children, and they're all engineers, 2 EMEs and 1 EEE. I won't ask the gathered groups who they think is best, EEE or EME. That would be an appropriate thing to do. No show of hands. Suffice to say, they're 2 outstanding programmes along with the others, and these departments are world-leading, as we've seen in the recent research exercise. So, let me move to conclusion, colleagues. This is the exciting context within which you should view your degrees. You're now graduates of a university that puts students at the very heart of everything that we do. We absolutely value excellence in both education and research, and we create strong connections with society at large, as well as with the business world. And international connectivity is critical. The world's best universities liaise and work with, they compete with international universities, but they contribute with and cooperate with others, and we're no different. In North America, our strategic partners include Stanford, MIT, and New York University, household names for world-class excellence, strong partnerships with the University of Southern California and Waterloo in Canada. In China, we work with Tsinghua University and Peking University, as well as the Hong Kong University of Science and Technology. In fact, later this year, we're planning to open a new joint centre with Peking on sustainability and low-carbon technology. And we remain to have very strong partnerships across Europe, in spite of the flux and the disruption that Brexit brought. That deep-seated connectivity through education and research will remain an asset for Scotland and for the rest of the UK. But of course, all of you have also benefited from being part of an international university. You're emerging with the skills necessary not only for yourselves and for Scotland, but for the countries that you will return to or work in. And you've been exposed to the richness and the value of different cultures and traditions. But most importantly, you're leaving today, please, understanding your obligations as global citizens. And we talk about being socially progressive. That means, of course, we'll work with the third sector, but we're very committed to this city. And amongst the Scottish research-intensive universities, we take the largest number of young people from the 2 most challenged quintiles in the Scottish community. This year we've admitted about 1,300, highly motivated, really smart individuals, and the retention of that group is fantastic. They come here, they stay in here, then we launch them into their careers. Of 500 of those come from the most challenged communities, the communities that I recognise, because that's where I was brought up. Families with ambition for them, a drive to make achievement, but perhaps lacking the material wherewithal to get in here. And through all of that, we've retained our position as the 5th highest entrance qualifications in the UK, making a nonsense of the fact that standards are adversely affected through strategic commitment to widening access. Whilst you're one of the first groups for graduation this year, 3 weeks ago, we graduated the Children's University in this hall. I've got the privilege of being the Chancellor of the Children's University, and we had 150 5-year-olds to 12-year-olds here in the hall with their capes, with their mortarboards, with their teachers from various schools that we support, and very importantly, their mothers and fathers were sitting where you're sitting, families, the vast majority of whom have never been across the threshold of a university. So whilst we celebrated these young people's achievements, we were speaking to their mums and dads. This place is for you. If you have that ambition, that drive, and the commitment to your children's development, celebrate educational attainment and have them look forward to coming to places like Strathclyde. They came literally skipping across the room here. It was fantastic. So they get learning passports. If they go to the Burrell Collection or the Kelvin Grove Art Gallery, they get a digital stamp on their learning passport. They go to the Glasgow Science Centre, they do that as well. Night classes, additional work at school, and many of them taking their mums and dads to these places for the first time. So if they get their passport stamped up to a certain level, they're getting a bronze award or a bachelor's degree. Fantastic. Do some more, they get a silver award or a master's degree. And academics, be very careful, because a number of them now have PhDs, and they're coming in your direction in a few years when they leave school. And as my staff will know, I particularly love those ceremonies, because it's one of the few ceremonies I get to look tall when I'm capping the students. Although I have to say, some of these 12-year-olds make you stretch as well. But in any way, let us go forward, because I truly believe that our founder, John Anderson, would recognise what we're doing today as the realisation of what he sought to establish during the Scottish Enlightenment, namely useful learning. And to all of you in the Barony Hall today, I am certain what you've gone through, and I have a good sense of what you went through, because we did everything we could to support you in that 2022 should be a vintage year, because you've not only achieved your degrees, but you've done it under challenging circumstances. Whilst it was not welcome, you have to reflect on that and use that as a badge of achievement as well, that you, class of 2022, come through an awful lot of challenge to get where you've got to. We're all very proud of you. And also bear in mind that you're leaving, you're joining a family of almost 200,000 Strathclyders out there in the world, and I dare say you'll be bumping into them throughout your career. But please remember that whatever you do with your degree and wherever you pursue your career, truly useful learning means that you apply your knowledge for the benefits of others. Make a positive impact, please, for yourselves and the communities that you belong to. Respect diversity. Value freedom of expression and thought, and reach conclusions and resolve disputes through reason and tolerance. These characterise the core values of your university. And with regard to today's celebration, we're here to mark the fantastic achievements of those that have been awarded their degrees today, those in the hall and our fantastic honorary graduates as well. So on behalf of the university, I'd like to extend my sincere congratulations to all of you and wish you every success in your future careers. Please stay in touch with us and let us know about your progress. So, well done again, and please enjoy the rest of this very special day. Thank you. So, well done again, colleagues. Now, at the end of the ceremony, which is almost upon us, the stage party will process down the aisle, because you're going to hear the bagpiper firing up any moment now. Please, once the stage clears, please join in the procession. We're going to turn right, and we invite you to join us in the Learning and Teaching building, which is one of our new investments. There'll be refreshments there, an opportunity to catch up with friends old and friends new, and give me a chance to speak to some of these excellent graduates. So with that, colleagues, I'll ask you to be upstanding, please. And I will now declare this congregation formally closed. Thank you very much indeed.